Saturday afternoon, October 13th, 2018. And you get to this time of the year in the North Country, you might be thinking we're talking about the October 14th Battle of Valcour, but we're not anywhere near Valcour, although we're near a body of water. We're in the village of Champlain, right by the great Chazy River, and we're in what is known as Bill Earl Park. And River Street, once a thriving part of the community of Champlain, the village and the township, is now all but vacant thanks to this great Chazy River that on one too many occasions overflowed and caused all kinds of flooding down here. And there was a buyout, and many of the homeowners took advantage of it. But at one time in history, this was, as we said, a thriving part of the community. And in that direction over there, there was a boatyard where they made canal boats. And I think we're going to find out a little bit more about what canal boats are all about. They're going to unveil two markers today, two historic markers. We see one over there, and I know I saw another one. I think it's on the other side of this tree here. Well, maybe not. I know I saw that one, and there is another one here somewhere, but we're going to find it and unveil it here as we get set for this activity, spearheaded by, among others, well, there's the other marker right there. They're in line. There's one there, and there's one there, and both of those will be unveiled today. Spearheaded by the village officials and Celine Racine Paquette, who is the driving force and actually owner of the Samuel D. Champlain Historic Center, the museum up there, a former key bank from my youth, but now located next to the Knights of Columbus. It's a very important historical part of the community of Champlain. There are tours going on up there. They have gatherings down here. People are starting to gather. The car said 48 degrees when I shut the car off, but with this wind it feels more like 28 right now. And they've got the folks from Bayshard Sugar House, now located in West Chazy, but a couple of Champlainers who've moved south to have their thriving little business, and they've got a display here and items for sale, and maybe even something to taste if you're in the mood. There's a youngster heading for cover here. So what are you guys doing here, Marvin Bayshard?
Well, we brought some samples down for everybody to come and try. We got some maple product, some donuts with maple cream on it, hot chocolate, maple coffee, everything. Maple popcorn.
Maple popcorn?
Yeah,
okay.
maple cotton candy, maple taffy. A little bit of everything.
So who contacted who? How'd you end up here?
Heidi Sample contacted Tammy, my wife. Yeah, and we decided to come down and do it, of course.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
I'm sure they're going to have a crowd, so.
Yeah, we're going to have a crowd, but
we're all going to have winter coats on.
They're going to have winter coats, and they're going to head for the exit as soon as they as soon as they can, because it's darn cold out here today.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. Now, I know you have breakfast and so on in the springtime at your place there in West Chazy. Do you do anything else throughout the year? What
yes.
do you do there?
December 1st, we're going to have Santa in the sugar house and a pancake breakfast.
Oh.
That'll be on a Saturday, first Saturday of the month.
December 1st?
Yep, December 1st.
Okay.
And then we'll do our pancake breakfast all of March and first 2 weeks into April.
Okay. Now, is your store normally open?
Yeah, the sugar house is open all the time.
All the time? 24 hours a day,
well,
7 days a week?
8 to 5 or so.
Okay.
Unless we're there later on, and we are.
8 to 5 when?
Sunday through Sunday.
Really?
Yeah.
7 days a week?
7 days a week.
Oh, okay. So that's on the Sanger Road, is it?
Yeah, 61 Sanger Lane, West Chazy.
All right.
Yeah.
I would think that's off the Rata, but it's not off the Rata. It's off the
Off Stratton Hill now.
Stratton Hill. Yeah, the Stratton Hill
Yeah, they
makes a
changed
turn
that.
there and
Yeah,
cuts off the Rata and becomes the Stratton Hill. So
you got it. You know your roads.
so up there in Ingraham,
Yeah.
on the side, and I think the hot coffee might go today.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. It looks like it's perking good right now. That's what I'm gonna get.
Okay, so we wish you luck and
Okay.
say hello to Santa on December 1st. When you
Well,
see
of
him.
course, yes. Come on down.
All right, thanks, Marvin.
Okay, thank you.
We're taking a sneak peek here at the little placard here. I'm sure this is on display inside the History Center. But lots of photos showing the boat building. Crowd is still gathering here as we're slightly after 2 p.m.
Are we almost ready?
There's Mayor Greg Martin.
Or are you past ready? Out here in the cold.
How are you? I'm good. How are you?
We did that dedication in August when it was nice and warm. Initially.
There's the Haverhill boat
I guess we
yard.
could start.
There we go.
Lady, or the people that are coming here will get here eventually. Greetings and welcome to the Village of Champlain History Day. We would like to thank you all for attending and sharing this great day and this great celebration. We will have the unveiling of 2 new wayside history panels. One to honor the memory of a beloved community member, William Bill Earl, for whom this park along the Great Cheesy River is dedicated to. And the second panel highlights a very important industry, the building of canal boats here on the shore of the river. This day of celebration is possible through the hard work and dedication of many, and for this we thank you. But a special recognition really belongs to 2 village residents who made this day, through their hard work, a reality. I would like to recognize Celine Racine Paquette, the curator of the Samuel D. Champlain History Center.
She's hiding behind a sign.
The History Center, which is a rich resource of the history of this village and is open, or was open today for tours, and I really would like to see everybody here spend a little time walking around that center. It's beautiful and it is full of history. The center is a work of dedication and respect for the historical past of this village, and thanks to Ms. Paquette, is open to and shared with people who wish to examine and learn about the rich history of this village and surrounding area. I would also like to recognize Janet McPetrich for her perseverance. Thank you for her perseverance and attention to detail in making this day's events come together. She and Celine worked very hard together to get this day together. These 2 community members are very excited about this celebration, as we all are. A small but important segment of our history that still has huge implications today. I would also like to thank my wife Lori, who walked around the village relentlessly, visiting the many panels, writing questions based on the information on the markers, which were used by the children in their scavenger hunt. If I may, I promise to be quick. I know it's cold, and I know you're... If I may, I'd like to share a short story about a village resident who spent much of his working life on a canal boats traveling New York's canals. Russell LaFountain was a neighbor of mine for many years and would often share stories of his adventures on the boats. And he had, I should have memorized this, I'm sorry. And he had many stories to share. One that I found amusing and typical, Russell. I found while reading The Boat People of Champlain by Christine A. Racine and Mark Alberry. I would like to quote a short segment. It seems Russell had a pig on board his boat, on his tugboat, as he worked the canals. And when someone asked him if the pig had a name, Russell, I can still see his face and his smile. Russell smiled and said, "Dinner." So, ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome to the Village History Day celebration. Enjoy the unveiling of the new panels. Visit the History Center. Enjoy the children's activities. Buy a button to celebrate the occasion. And thanks to the Northeastern Clinton Central School teachers and their students for being such an important part of today's events. Enjoy the snacks provided by Bayshard Sugar House. Thanks to the Village DPW for setting the panels. And on behalf of the Village of Champlain, we sincerely thank you who made this day possible, and for those of you that are attending. Now it is my distinct honor to introduce Celine Racine Paquette, who will share more important information about today's celebration. Thank you.
I'm such a klutz on trip here. Thank you, Mayor Martin. Thank you all brave souls for being here with us today on this historic day. Today we're unveiling 2 wayside history panels donated to us by the Champlain Valley National Heritage Partnership. So on this very street here where we are on River Street, on the shores of our beautiful Great Chazy River, some very interesting events took place. You will note that this park is called the Bill Earl Park. The mayor alluded to that. Bill Earl's home was right here on the river, right in this area of River Street where we are. And a few years ago, the village dedicated this park in his name, the Bill Earl Park. So I'll give you a little bit more information later about.
Thank you, Patty.
Knew we had her here for some reason. So today I want to talk about something else that was very important here on River Street 100 years ago. It's something very few people know about. In fact, I grew up here many years before I knew about this. Something we're very proud to share with all of you. How many people know that boats were built here on this river? You know now, but not just a few boats, but many boats. So I'm going to give you a very short history of boat building in Champlain. For more details, you might want to read the calendar that was published by David Patrick in 2014. A great calendar, a lot of photos, a lot of images of the boat building, more history than I'm going to give you. Champlain had at least 3 boatyards on the river over a period of 100 years. Boat building started in Champlain in 1857. Before that date, we know there was some boat building happening on the Great Chazy. We have documents that say a sailboat was built in 1837, and the largest schooner on the lake was built in 1839. The first boatyard was a little further from here, close to Goki Road, which is off the Rapids Road, near the bridge here on Route 11. The second major boatyard was at the end of River Street, right here. This one seems to have been the biggest and the busiest boatyard, and we know it was heavily used starting in 1879. Then there were some smaller boatyards that along the river by independent boat builders. After the Champlain Canal opened, canal boats were built because they could hold and transport more goods. So canal boats were pushed by tugboats, which had steam engines, and they could transport cargo faster than sailing vessels, which had to rely on wind. They didn't always have days like today. Canal boats were used to transport lumber, coal, iron, mine ore, stone, and merchandise. We even had a linen factory here in Champlain. So a lot of things left the wharves and the docks here. And you have to remember that men who own these shipyards also own these mills They were the owners, and that they built the mills along the river because they had the power from the river. In the 1880s, the canal boat industry of Champlain had grown tremendously, and many more townspeople were involved in the boat building industry. There were ship captains, deckhands, and boat loaders lived in town along with the boat builders. The 1880 census listed 110 people as boatmen, sailors, captains, and engineers. They had 412 dependents. That's a significant number in a small village like Champlain. A 1908 article in the Plattsburgh Republican paper mentions that there are about 50 captains who make their home in Champlain. Most of them own homes and are counted as among the best and most substantial citizens in the community. We have many people here in Champlain who are descendants of these boat people. One of these best known and most popular person of the boat people is someone we've already mentioned, is Bill Earl. His father had a sawmill here at the end of River Street, and Bill never left the family home. He opened a bicycle shop right here on the river. He docked his boat here. He also established a bicycle repair shop here. His boat was called the Honest Bill, and it was used to haul sand and other bulk cargo to Sheridan Iron Works. The Honest Bill was built in 1924, and it is believed that he owned the very last boat that was built in Champlain. He was a friend to dozens of children who lived in the village. He would furnish them bicycles, and he did it for free for those who couldn't afford to own a bicycle. He fed dinner to the children. I remember my husband saying he'd go get a pail of water right in the river and count heads and peel the potatoes, you know. And I'm sure some of you have heard these stories, some of us who are older, that is. And they also used his house to warm up after they had spent time skating on the frozen river. He died in 1943 and left many sad kids here in Champlain. Now back to our boatyards, it seems that the Averill and Kellogg, and then it became Averill and Clark boatyard, was probably the most famous and the busiest. James Averill entered the boat building business in 1879 when he was 27 years old. In 1883, 4 years later, he purchased the iron foundry that became Sheridan Iron Works. So you could say he was quite an ambitious entrepreneur at a very young age. The boatyard built more than canal boats. They built barges, passenger boats, yachts, and houseboats. And you'll see the pictures here. This was prepared by David Patrick some years ago, and you'll see the different boats that were built. In 1908, this is one boat I'll tell you about, the boatyard built a luxury houseboat for Mr. Walter Witherby. There's a town in Essex County named Witherby. It was called a Silouan, and it's right here. There are 10 sleeping rooms on that boat, with a kitchen, 15 by 17 dining room, a system of fresh running water throughout the boat, and a very comfortable, relaxing area in the upper deck. This boat hosted President Taft in 1909 when they celebrated the 300th anniversary of Champlain's arrival on Lake Champlain. This boatyard also built a ferry boat called the Twins. This ferry was built in 1905 for a Mr. William Sweet in Chazy and was used to ferry 5 cars and passengers between Chazy Landing and Isle Lamont. That's before the Rouse's Point Bridge was built. That's how they got to Vermont. But with time, there are improvements and new ways to do things. Starting in 1910, transportation on Lake Champlain changed dramatically. Diesel-driven barges began to replace the canal boats. Also, there started to be a demand for bigger boats. They even enlarged the Champlain Canal to allow for the bigger boats. Freight trucks started to be used as we had better maintained roads then. By 1919, the last canal boat was built on the Great Chazy River. And today we have very few clues that there was ever anything here, unfortunately. And James Averill, he died in 1917. At the time of his death, he was the vice president and treasurer of Sheridan Iron Works. He still owned the boatyard, and he was president of the First National Bank of Champlain, which is now the Samuel D. Champlain History Center, right up there, built in 1880. He was a busy guy. We have much more information available in the History Center if anyone ever wanted to go into deeper details, the names of the boats, the names of the builders. We have all that information. And I mentioned David's calendar. He's got a lot of information there. So now, before we do the unveiling, I'd like to give thanks to several people who have made today possible. I'd like to express my thanks to the committee who helped organize today's events. Janet McFetrich, David Patrick, Elena Vidalis. Also want to thank Janet and Lori Martin for their work on the scavenger hunt history contest. Thank you, Janet and your team, for organizing the crafts today. Thank you to Calvin for always being here for us and being a keeper of our local history. Thank you to Julie Gallagher for making our history buttons. I hope everyone bought a button today. We want to thank Mike Jolliger and his crew, the Public Works Department, for putting up this tent and securing our new wayside panels. This is a very busy time for Mike and his staff, and so we very much appreciate their taking time out of their busy schedule to help us with this event. I want to thank the Bayshore Snack Bar for agreeing to be with us today. However, the biggest thanks of all go to the 4th grade teachers at NCCS who started meeting with us in August. They came in and met with us on this hot summer day, and they were so willing to participate in this project, which is part of a local history unit that they teach in 4th grade. We asked them to work with their students, teach them about boat building in Champlain, and then asked the students to do a drawing of a boat. 10 semi-finalists were given to our committee, and from those 10 we selected the top 3. It was a tough job because they're all good, as you can see if you look at these here. The picture drawn by the first place winners featured on the button that was made especially for today. Today we have the winners, and I'd like to start with the 3rd place winner, Tanner Menard. There's Tanner. Come over here, please. And Janet and Lenny, would you come and help me give out the... Tickets are right here. We have a little prize for you.
This is Tanner's work of art. If anyone wants to see it closer, it'll be up here after.
The 2nd place winner, Carly Angtu. Moore's Elementary. And our 1st place winner, Megan Williams.
Yeah, they should. Why not? All right, medals all around. Congratulations.
We have a certificate and a prize for each of the finalists. And we also have students who participated in the scavenger hunt, and I asked Janet to read off the names, and we can give them a history medal also.
Joyce Andrews. It's Joyce here. Here she comes. She completed the scavenger hunt. Cora Malinsky. Is she here? Oh, Cora's still at the snack bar.
Put that aside for her.
Why not? We'll get her down here later. Silas Moran.
Oh, I see some running from the snack bar here.
And Sadie Grace Moran.
I don't know if they're here or not.
I didn't see her.
No, I didn't either. Okay. Thank you for everyone who participated. If you know children who would still like to be a part of this, you can get the form online or stop by the village office and pick it up and complete it, turn it into the office, and we will get a medal to that child. Thank you.
Only children want.
I'm sorry, Patty.
If you want to do it for the fun, feel free. It's always good to learn more about Champlain history.
And I'll save a medal for you, Patty.
Favoritism there.
And now the reason we're all here. We will unveil our 2 beautiful panels. And again, I'd like to express my thanks to Jim Brangan and the Champlain Valley National Heritage Partnership, which donated these to the village. I'm going to ask our first place winner, Megan Williams, to help unveil the boat building panel. You want to go over there and pull the... This is a lovely panel. I hope you have a chance to read them. Just pull it off.
There's some clips on it, so you may, yeah, there we go.
Shipwrights of Champlain, French and English.
And I'd like to ask our second and third place winner to unveil the Bill Earl panel. They have to walk over there.
Yeah, this one's going to be a little bit of a hike, but if anyone wants to be first to see it.
Since Tanner's mother was an eggtail, these kids are probably distant cousins, I would imagine.
Do you guys want me to hold your certificates while you do it? Yeah. There you go. All right.
Okay.
Take the tape off.
There we go. Bill Earl Park. Memory of Bill Earl. That shows his boat. I would assume that's his home. And there he is with a group of youngsters.
Thank you all for coming out today.
And as was mentioned, he died in 1943.
To go back,
And people of my father's generation, my father was born in 22, and he was very much aware of Mr. Bill Earl and what an asset he was to the community.
Old honest Bill.
So that's what it now looks like down here at Bill Earl Park on River Street in the village of Champlain.
Good, how are you?
Yes, pretty much so, yeah. Right about there. Yeah. Very, very close.
This panel here is not too far from the tree that was planted 9 years ago now, going on 10, for the Champlain Quadricentennial. One of the first families that settled in the town of Champlain was the Ashline family, and Mr. Charlie Ashline had the pleasure of digging up that first shovel of dirt for this back in 2009. We're going to wrap it up here as the little crew gets busy. Phone, I guess. In addition to, there's David Patrick, in addition to his calendar that was alluded to by Celine, also mentioned was, when Mayor Martin gave his talk, was the book written a few years back by Mark Barry and his wife, Christine Racine. And there's a lot of history on boat building there and the captains. And I found out at that point in time that the A. Lively that on the deed of my home and was on the maps in the 1850s was indeed a captain on a canal boat. So canal boat history is probably even more extensive than we probably realize here in the northern tier. As Celine said, there's a great number of people that were involved with the boat building and the canal boats themselves. The canal boats were boats, if you've never seen one, that looks like a car on a train that has to be towed by an engine. Canal boats are were for the most part not mobile. They had to be towed, and they would carry stuff, and carried all those items that Celine talked about, all kinds of merchandise and items that were carried up and down the river. And of course the Champlain Canal itself has nothing so much to do with the town and village of Champlain. It's more to do with the Lake Champlain, with the Champlain Canal and the Erie Canal and all that stuff. There's a lot of great history to all that. And we also proud to have an interview that Bob Venn did with Russell LaFountain many years ago, and that's available on our website if you want to listen to Russell himself. And with the event over with, the sun is coming out, so the sunshine has returned to the downtown Champlain, much to the delight of the mayor. Thanks for watching and supporting. Viewers supported local television, hometown cable. So nice out. I might stay here for a couple more hours.